Good morning, you're watching All You Need to Know on Bloomberg Quint. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's first take a look at what the Asian markets and the global markets are doing to get a sense of how trade will set up in trade. So most of the Asian markets currently are trading with a slight negative bias. US managed to end with a positive bias, not so much as far as Europe was concerned. Asia is pretty much flat in trade, and that's what also being reflected on the SGX Nifty. Now let's see what the ADRs managed to do in trade to get a sense of how our stocks will react. So Dr. Reddy's was up almost 4%. The pharma rally did manage to continue on the US markets also after a big rally that we saw in India. Tata Motors continues its good run. Infosys continues its good run. Wipro was up almost 0.5%, but Wipro is rather wobbly over the past few days. What didn't do well is HDFC Bank, which was down 2%. ICICI Bank and Vedanta were down in trade. Now, if you're looking at how the trend is on the SGX Nifty, it's up almost 22 points in trade currently, reflecting with the muted sentiment that we're seeing across Asia at this point of time. So that's the SGX Nifty. Now basically, if you're looking at the Nifty was absolutely flat in trade, but a little bit of traction was seen on the mid-cap end of the market. The mid-cap was up almost 0.5%. Similar was the case as far as the small cap and the Nifty Bank was concerned. The Nifty Bank was down almost 66 points, but traction seems to be shifting to the PSU banking end, which was up almost 1.6%. So we're seeing a trend wherein money seems to be moving from the private sector banks into public sector banks, probably because of valuation and all the news flows that's happening. Two sectors which were buzzing. Pharma was up 4%, led mainly by Sun Pharma, the VAI for the Halol plant, and the Nifty Media Index was up almost 1.2%. So sectorally, these were the sectors that did well. So overall, on a month-to-date performance, Nifty Pharma, and majority of this move came in on Friday itself. Energy is led by Reliance this time around, and the Nifty Auto Index is led by Maruti as well as Tata Motors, the two underperformance of the recent months. What hasn't done well is the Nifty Infra Index on a month-to-date basis. The small cap and real estate index are also not doing well, and probably this is also reflected in how they've performed through the year also. So if you take a look at the YTD performance, you can see that money seems to be moving back into the defensive. The IT is up 18%, the Nifty FMCG is up almost 7%, while the Sensex is up just 4%. So IT has massively outperformed the benchmark indices. What has not done well, again the same pack, the Nifty PSU Bank is down 18%, the Nifty Small Cap is down 16%, Nifty Realty is down almost 16%, while some of the sectors, defensive sectors, are doing well. These are the volatile sectors which have actually taken it on the chin this time around. Basically, these are the counters which are at fresh 52-week high, and probably the momentum play will continue. Bajaj Finance, First Source and Infosys are at fresh 52-week high. What isn't doing well is Quality, which is at a fresh 52-week low. Strides and Vatek Wabag also hit its 52-week low before rising in trade on Friday. Apart from it, if you're looking at the fund flows, FI sold in 222 crores, DI is bought in almost 459 crores. On a month-to-date basis, both of them have been buyers, but FIs, remember, majority of the buying is happening on the HDFC Bank share at this point of time. Now, as far as the Nifty was concerned, absolutely flat in trade. Reliance, Sun Pharma, Infosys contributed on the positive side. The HDFC Twins and ITC contributed on the negative side. So not much on the Nifty side. Even open interest build-up was very hardly there on the Nifty itself. Open interest build-up of just 2%. Nifty absolutely flat. Long unwinding was in fact seen on the Nifty Bank. Open interest was down almost 2%. The index was down almost 0.25% in trade. Now, if you're looking at where positions were taken, put writers were much more aggressive. They wrote in at 10,600 and 10,700. They were much more aggressive than the call writers who wrote in at 10,700 and 10,800. So basically, if you see where the total positions are being taken, you can see clearly that it's between the 10,600 and 10,800 that the positions are clearly being taken at this point of time. Now, some of the stocks in focus, basically Balrampur Chini and Dewan Housing were in the F&O ban. Jet Airways is the new stock or the new entrant in the F&O ban. Apart from it, some of the other stocks in focus, the Nifty PCR remained unchanged. The Nifty Bank PCR came down from 0.89 to 0.80. So that's what happened on the Nifty Bank front. As far as stocks are concerned, Strides I'll watch out for. Yesterday managed to move up on Friday after hitting a fresh 52-week low on high open interest build-up of 36% due to the rally in pharma stocks. The other stock that I want to watch out is Sun Pharma. Short covering was seen. So yet even on an 8% move, there was no fresh buying that was seen. Open interest was down almost 6% on the counter. The other stock is Castrol, which continues to face weakness. Open interest build up of 5% on the short side. Crude strength is impacting them. On the PSU banking front, Indian Bank looks one of the strongest banks. The open interest build up of 19% on the long side. And finally, the last stock I want to talk about is Apollo Hospital, which saw a huge amount of short covering. Open interest was down almost 15%, and that moved on the long side. But now let's go across to Bloomberg's Paul Allen for all the top international headlines.
Italy has confirmed it has no intention of leaving the Eurozone. The new government told Corriere della Sera there has been no discussion about dumping the common currency and that ministers will do everything possible to maintain normal relations. The coalition says it wants to boost growth by structural reforms and investment rather than increased spending that critics said would break EU rules. Switzerland has rejected a plan to change the way banks lend money in what's seen as a victory for central bank governor Thomas Jordan. He's been a prominent critic of proposals that opponents said would make Switzerland less attractive for investors. The so-called Vollgeld option would have ended the system of allowing only the SMB to create money and require checking accounts to be backed by assets with a direct claim on the monetary authority. Bitcoin fell the most in 3 months after South Korean crypto exchange CoinRail admitted it had been hacked. The fall widens Bitcoin's losses for the year to more than 50%, 4 times bigger than Ethereum and Ripple. CoinRail says it's reviewing its systems and that cryptocurrencies are now being stored in a cold wallet. The statement is the only content available on the exchange's homepage. Paris has topped London as the most attractive European city for investors for the first time in a decade, as worries about Brexit begin to influence opinion. 37% of companies in a new Ernst & Young report put Paris at the top for foreign direct investment. London came second, with Berlin third. Respondents pointed to the UK's looming split with Europe and the election of President Macron. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Paul Allen. This is Bloomberg.
Well, the feeling is that there could be more than just one summit. I think Donald Trump has said it rightfully, and that they're going to know a lot about the attitudes come in the first few minutes when they have the handshake in the building behind me here up on the hill. That is the Capella Hotel. That is where the summit tomorrow will be held. And of course, there are different definitions of what denuclearization is. The United States has insisted on CVID, complete, verifiable, irreversible disarmament, whereas the North Koreans, well, are they really going to give up their nuclear arsenal? They have vowed for complete denuclearization, but their definition of that might be a little bit different. So that's why the schedules of the two leaders is quite open right now. We have not gotten any schedule today for Kim Jong-un. And for Donald Trump, he is meeting with the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong later this morning, and his advance team led by the Philippines, their ambassador to the Philippines, who's also a Korean part of the negotiating team with the North Koreans, Song Kim. He will be having, within this hour, last-minute meetings with the North Korean delegation to kind of figure out what kind of common ground perhaps they can reach at this summit, if it indeed goes one day, potentially two. Maybe among the low-hanging fruit, though, would be a peace deal. That would be the easy part, says Donald Trump. The difficult part, though, is going to be the progress and timeline to get from the North Koreans on denuclearization. Is Kim Jong-un serious about denuclearizing?
Back to local equity markets. Talk of the day today is a micro-cap company, Worth Peripherals, where Girik Wealth Advisors has purchased a 0.92% stake for the company for a sum of around 98 lakh. In all, it has purchased a good 1,45,500 shares at a price of around 68 per share. On the selling side, we have HSBC Mutual Fund Equity Fund, which has sold in 2.5% equity in the company for a sum of around more than 2.5 crore. Also, it has sold in a total of more than 4 lakh shares at a price of 68 per share. Now remember that HSBC Mutual Fund Small Cap Equity Fund had held in a total 3.2% equity in the company as per the March shareholding pattern. Now if you look at the shareholding pattern for this packaging material manufacturer, which has a market capitalization of roughly 125 odd crore, there the promoter shareholding stands at 73%, while the public shareholding stands at good 27% for the company. If you look at the FY18 performance for the company, well, if you look at the revenue number for FY18 performance, you would see a good 14% uptick for the company at a number of around 158 crore as compared to 138 crore. And if you look at the EBITDA performance, it's a healthy show there itself, a 42% jump at a number of 22 odd crore as compared to 15.5 odd crore, which has led to margin expansion to 14% as compared to 11.2%. However, if you look at the profitability, we're looking at a good 31% dip. This is on account of the deferred tax expense that the company incurred for FY18.
Let's also get your check on the commodity space, starting off with oil prices currently trading a little bit on the softer side. This is an extension to Friday's fall that we saw. Now, this was largely on the back of the US rig counts as well as the Russia output that we saw. So the US oil rig output, in fact, has remained at the highest level since 2015. And we also understand that Russia has boosted its crude oil production to 11.1 million barrels for a day for the first week of June. As far as base metals are concerned, the index itself snapped its 8-day winning streak, and we had all metals except for zinc, which ended negative. Now, copper saw some bit of profit taking and decline from a 4-year high. However, Macquarie is of the belief that fundamentals and spreads look positive for the copper market. Lead, which is the top loser in trade, declined about 2.7% and snapped its 4-day gaining streak. This is on the back of the cancelled warrants, which actually dropped most in a year on the European markets. As far as precious metals are concerned, gold is still trading above the 1300 mark. However, silver posted its longest weekly rally, or the biggest weekly rally since April this year.
Well, among the stocks that we are tracking in trade today include Welspun Corporation, which has received a contract to supply 72 kmt of API pipes to the US market. Though they haven't disclosed the size of or the value of this order win, they've said that the current order book with this new addition now stands at 11,000 crores, so watch out for that name. That apart, we're also watching out for Inox Wind, one more company added to the list where auditors have resigned citing time constraints. That apart, we're also watching out for Phoenix Mills. They've acquired under construction retail development in Lucknow, and that is for a value of 453 crores. You have Punjab National Bank, where the board approval has come into divest stake in PNB Housing Finance, ICRA, CRISIL and BSE Limited. All of this, they have said, will be at an appropriate time depending on the market conditions. So that's another stock. Goa Carbon is another one. They have shared their monthly production and sales numbers for the month of May. So the production is up 62% on a year-on-year basis, but the sales are down nearly 20%. That apart, you have an ET report which says that Carlyle is looking to sell its entire 23% holding in PNB Housing Finance, to sell that entire stake. They've put it on the block, and they will be selling stake over a period of about 18 months or so. So watch out for PNB Housing Finance. And lastly, in the back of bulk deals, we have PVR, where Baron Emerging Markets Fund sold 1.3% stake on Friday. They held about 1.5% or so. So it's a near, complete exit for this one. So watch out for all these names.
There has been a growing debate about how the stock exchanges and regulators should be looking at companies which are listed and are facing insolvency proceedings at the NCLT. And this debate has been going on for some time with the regulator, and the exchanges, as per part of their surveillance mechanism, have now decided that additional surveillance measures would be undertaken for all the companies which are under insolvency at the NCLT. There are nearly 60 companies which are currently basically in NCLT under various stages, and all these 60 companies will fall under the ASM. As part of the ASM mechanism, there would be initial 100% margin which is required to be made by anyone who is trying to buy or sell the shares. In addition, if the need be and if the stocks volatility persists, then these companies will again be put under a severe one, which is the trade to trade, where there is no intraday trade allowed on these companies, and the trades are only meant for delivery based. There will be other measures which like circuit filters and all, which are existing with the stock exchange, but both for now it's 60 companies which go into the ASM as we speak.
Well, the pharma space on Friday was active and saw a lot of delivery buying and selling in stock-specific names. Starting off with Sun Pharma, now that was up about 8% in trade and saw delivery buying in excess of 500 crores. The delivery volume surged 3 times as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume also surged more than 3 times as compared to its 5-day average. Second stock to watch out for, that would be Dr. Reddy's. Now that was up about 5% in trade and saw delivery buying of more than 200 crores. The delivery volume surged nearly 3 times as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume managed to more than double itself than as compared to its 5-day average. Last and final stock, Apollo Hospital. Now that was also up about 5% in trade and saw delivery buying of nearly 64 crores. The delivery volume more than doubled for itself as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume surged just about 79% as compared to its 5-day average.
On the big brokerage calls for the day, first we have is MK on Suven Life Science. Now the brokerage has initiated coverage on the stock with a buy rating and a target price of 270, which suggests a return potential of more than 25%. Now according to the brokerage, Suven Life is a compelling play on the recovery that is being witnessed in the global research and development spending among the pharma companies globally. Now along with this, consolidation seen in the clinical development and manufacturing organization is another growth catalyst for Suven Life Science. Now there has been consolidation in both clinical research organization level as well as in the API manufacturing level according to the brokerage. The company has enjoyed highest EBITDA margin in the past in the CDMO business, and going forward the consolidated margins are expected to remain stable at around 29% over the next 2 years. Overall, the brokerage is expecting the company's revenue and net profit to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 10% and 19% over FY18 to FY20. Second we have is ICICI Securities on Mindtree. Now the brokerage has maintained its reduced rating on the stock but has raised the target price to 955 from 800 rupees. Now according to the brokerage, strong deal momentum will help the company sustain revenue growth in the first half of financial year 2019, but for the second half the brokerage is expecting the momentum to slow down as the order intake would not sustain at this elevated level according to the brokerage. Acquisitions done by Mindtree are showing gradual improvement on the top line. However, achieving a steady state of EBITDA margin of close to 8 to 10% will still take time according to the brokerage. Now, the brokerage has revised the target price as it believes that there are multiple levers for margin expansion going forward, and the multiple levers are like INR depreciation and lower drag from wage hikes, which will help the company drive its margins going forward.
This is 450, a smart electric two-wheeler by Ather Energy. Actually, one of the 2 smart electric vehicles by Ather Energy. Now, without further ado, I'm going to take this two-wheeler out for a spin. First, to understand how does it really feel to ride an electric two-wheeler. Well, the first thing that hits you is that this scooter is really quiet. It's even hard to figure if it's turned on or not. And as far as the ride is concerned, it doesn't feel at all different from a conventional petrol scooter. Now, both the models come in a shade of white and has a 7-inch navigation dashboard, a first in India. That means that you don't have to struggle to reach to your phone every time to check the location while riding. You can simply push the location from your phone to the navigation dashboard via the Ather app, or you can enter the location on the dashboard itself. The company says that both the models are quicker than any other petrol scooter in the country.
The idea always was to build something that can keep up and actually possibly beat a petrol scooter in terms of performance, because electric is really that sort of a powerful technology, and with the 450 and 340 being able to do that. The 450 in particular is actually one of the quickest scooters in the market with a 0 to 40 time of 3.9 seconds, which means it can actually keep up with 150cc bikes. Top speed of 80, range of 75 kilometers, going up as high as 107 kilometers in the Indian driving cycle.
Well, my favorite feature in this two-wheeler is the park assist mode. Now, how many of you guys have faced the issue of reversing the vehicle where you literally have to drag it? Now, here I can't, on my own, reverse the vehicle. But with the park assist mode, all I have to do is just select the park assist mode and accelerate here, and the scooter can be easily reversed. Well, like this. Well, one big question every two-wheeler enthusiast will have: how long can these vehicles travel on a single charge? Well, this particular model that I drove, the 451, you can drive up to about 75 kilometers on a single charge. The other model, the 340, you can drive up to about 65 kilometers on a single charge. Now, as far as the charging infrastructure is concerned, which is the key to make the electric vehicle a success, Ather has already deployed such charging grid across about 17 different locations in Bangalore already. And its charging infrastructure is strategically placed at convenient locations such as cafes, inside mall parking, restaurants, tech parks, and will be open to all electric vehicles. And the location of the nearby charging grid can be found on the app or on the navigation dashboard.
We'll make sure you're never more than 4 kilometers away when we start shipping, and eventually we'll bring this number down to 2 kilometers. So range anxiety really ought not to be a problem. Anywhere in the city, you're never more than 2-3 kilometers away from the nearest charging point. We'll also ensure when you buy the vehicle, there is a charging point installed at your home. So an Ather team will come, do the installation, do the audit, and make sure the point is up even before the vehicle gets delivered. So getting the charging point up is not going to be your hassle. It's on us.
But if there's one thing that can pinch the customer, it's the price. Priced at about 1,09,750 for the 340 model and 1,24,750 for the 450 model, both the models are expensive than any other scooter in the country.
Overall cost of ownership, especially when you factor in the cost of fuel, the low cost of electricity basically ensures that you actually still have a better cost of ownership with the 450 and the 340 compared to petrol scooters. If you pair it with financing, right from day one, you will have the same cost as a petrol scooter, lower monthly outflow, and still a far more premium feature than any petrol scooter in the market out there.
And its closest competitor in India is Hero MotoCorp's electric scooter, codenamed AXL HE20. Hero MotoCorp is also an investor in Ather Energy. The yet-to-be-launched two-wheeler is expected to have a top speed of 85 km per hour and a battery range of 110 km on a single charge. Pricing, though, is yet to be announced.
Well, in football, the excitement is palpable with the World Cup starting in a few days. Meanwhile, back home, India won a sweeping victory in the finals of the Intercontinental Cup. You may have come across Captain Sunil Chhetri's clarion call to fans. He asked fans to come to the stadium to support the team, and he didn't disappoint. In yesterday's finals, India found the back of the net twice within the first 29 minutes, with Chhetri securing both the goals. The icing on the cake, of course, was the clean sheet. But even more special is the fact that Sunil Chhetri became the joint second highest international goal scorer among the active players, matching Argentina's superstar Leo Messi. He has now scored 64 in 102 appearances. Who knows, India might just make it to the World Cup soon. And in tennis, world number 1 Rafael Nadal lifted his 11th French Open title in Roland Garros on Sunday, beating 7th seed Austrian player Dominic Thiem in straight sets. Nadal led by 2 sets and also had a break early in the third when he got a cramp on the middle finger of his left hand, which is his serving hand, but he went on to clinch the championship 6-4, 6-3, 6-2. He's now 32 years old and only second behind Roger Federer in terms of the number of Grand Slam titles won. Meanwhile, 24-year-old Thiem says he's confident his first appearance in a Grand Slam final will not be his last. Lots to talk about over the course of the day, and you'll find all the live market action right here on Bloomberg Quint. There are also several stories that you should consider reading on the website bloombergquint.com. The Competition Commission of India might recommend structural changes to the proposed $16 billion Walmart-Flipkart deal to address possible competition concerns. And fraud hit Punjab National Bank expects to recover 8,000 crore rupees in bad loans in the first quarter of the current financial year. The bank reported the highest loss in banking history in the fourth quarter, weighed down by non-performing loans. That's all you need to know going into trade today. It's going to be a busy one, so do stay tuned. This is Bloomberg Quint.